call this meeting to order. We have the prayer and the pledge by Councilmember Marlo Lewis.
We start this prayer by saying, God bless this country, this state, and this beautiful city of New Iberia, Louisiana. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mayor Pro Tem Dan Dahl,
Here.
Councilmember Natalie Lopez, Councilmember Marlon Lewis,
Here.
Councilmember David Broussard,
Here.
Councilmember Deidre Ledbetter,
Here.
Councilmember Sherry Guidry,
Present.
Councilmember Dustin Sweet.
Here.
Thank you. Our first item number 1, public comment. We have no public comment cards tonight. Seeing none. Thank you. That'll close the public comment. I'll ask you all to please silence your cell phones. And we'll move on to item number 2, acceptance of the minutes. Madam Clerk.
Acceptance of the minutes of the May 2nd, 2017 meeting as published on May 11th, 2017.
Do I have a motion?
Motion. Second.
Motion by Councilmember Broussard, second by Councilmember Lewis. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, no objection, motion carries. Item number 3, persons to address the council. Madam Clerk.
Ms. Cecilia Beanie Bonan with the Public District Defender's Office to introduce herself and explain the services provided by the 16th Judicial District Public Defender's Office.
Good evening. I'm so excited to be here. Everybody calls me Beanie, not Cecilia. And if you all don't mind when I speak, do you mind if I also talk to all of your guests and citizens?
Not at all.
I am what's called the District Defender for the Public Defender's Office for the 16th Judicial District. It just sounds so important, but you make no money and it's lots of work. And all of the wonderful, fabulous attorneys that work in my office also do not have the luxury of a great salary. And clerks and assistants. We have a lot of people that know people in my office. But I wanted to come. I've only been here 2 years and just getting around to trying to visit everybody, because some people don't understand what the PDO, that's what we're called, is about. The PDO are the lawyers who, Public Defender Office, who represent those persons charged in criminal cases and also parents charged with children in need of care. Their child could be taken away from them. We represent those persons who do not have the money to pay an attorney. We represent probably a minimum of 60% of the defendants that come before the courts in misdemeanors, felonies, juvenile cases. Juvenile cases, we probably represent almost everybody. Our district runs from St. Martin all the way to St. Mary. We have 8 district courts in the district, and we have 5 city courts in the district. And that runs from Breaux Bridge to Morgan City. So we have a pretty expansive area that we have to cover, and a lot of courtrooms and a lot of cases that we have to cover. So I came actually not to ask for money, which is something that I don't like to ask for, but would if I had to. I have come here to ask you all to support us morally and legislatively, now and in the future. Miss Natalie Lopez is the head of all of my assistants, and she's going to have a resolution that's just a template that I'm going to ask for you all in the future to make your own resolution, if you're willing, to support us with the governor and our legislators that we have, senators and representatives. And you make it whatever you want it and send it to them, and I would really appreciate it. I want to give you a quote, which is where we're coming from, where the public defender's coming from. Equal justice under the law is not merely a caption on the facade of the Supreme Court building. It is perhaps the most inspiring ideal of our society. It is one of the ends which our entire legal system for which it exists. It is fundamental that justice should be the same in substance and availability without regard to your economic status. Louisiana has the highest incarceration rate, not of the United States, but of the world. Of the world. And I know that Louisiana doesn't have the worst people in the world, or the most of the worst people in the world. Our clients are people who we represent, and people go, how can you do that? How can you represent them? Well, because guess what? They're presumed innocent. And we have to work really hard to evaluate the cases, either get them null-prossed or try and work out the best deal that we can work out for them. And it's our duty to make the prosecution, the DA's office, do their job the way they're supposed to. So it's an easy thing for us morally, because we believe that people are presumed innocent, and it's easy for us to say we just have to make the prosecutor do his job because it's his burden. Now, we have in the past been called the Public Offender's Office. We have been called the Indignant Detention Office. We have been called the Indignant Public Defender, or the Ignorant Defender. Sometimes that's not false. Sometimes we've been guilty of that, okay? But I can honestly say that right now we have a wonderful crew of attorneys. Young, Mr. Jeff Simon's daughter is one of our attorneys. Every day I thank God I have her. Of course, she's so intelligent. She's easy to look at. She's passionate. She's hardworking, and she does her job so well. It's incredible. But she's not the only one. We have a lot of young, passionate people, and they just really invigorate this old woman right here. And they never leave me alone. We're doing a lot of good training that we are receiving pro bono from attorneys around this state. Also from National Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers, we have gotten free training from them. I'm lucky I know a lot of good attorneys who come out. We have 3 offices, 1 in each parish. We have 19 attorneys that are employees. We have 13 that we have to hire over and above that for conflict cases, because we can only represent 1 defendant at a time. We have 12 assistants, and we just now have 2 investigators, which has really been a huge help. How are we funded? I would say unstably and inconsistently. But last year we had a better year. And one of the problems is the state gives us some money, and all of the rest of the money comes from local courts. And I don't know, let's try and think. This is like a little puzzle here. Think and see if you think this sounds right. The public defender gets paid $45 for each person who pleads guilty. Okay, I want y'all to know we're not going to plead him guilty for that $45, right? But that's one of the ways we get paid. That's sick. That's pretty sick, I think. Okay. We also do sometimes get partial attorney's fees. We get a $40 application fee. The state is now going to give us well, actually 100,000 less than they gave us, but I'm gonna be working on that to try and change that. We also get a little percentage of bonds when people bond out of jail, and we get a nice percentage when they are forfeited their bond. Of course, that's not good for the client because that means he's going to jail. This year we received a grant and we were given, I call him our free attorney, but he's a fellow from University of Southern California, brilliant, bright guy. He's been working in city court over here, but now he's moving up to felony. It was very exciting that I had a free lawyer. Now I have to start paying him, but guess what? I'm getting another free lawyer coming up, so I'm pretty excited about that. We work on a budget of about 1.7 to 1. This year, 1.7 was a couple of years ago, 1.8 this year. So I think we do pretty well in our budget, but it is not, I know it sounds like a lot, but it's not to run 3 offices and deal with all the people that we deal with. I wanted to update you all on a few things that are going on. You may already know about them. The Louisiana Public Defender Board got a grant. They're the people that run all of the offices. You know, I'm under them. They did a workload study, which kind of is a supposedly empirical study that shows how private attorneys versus PDO attorneys, what they put in time-wise, money-wise, blah, blah, blah. Well, what they found, according to them, and I believe it, is that Louisiana Public Defense needs, for the whole state, 1,769 full-time or full-time equivalent lawyers to take care of the population that we're dealing with. We have 360. Gives you a really good idea. Now, what I have grand hopes on is our new governor, and this, well, I call him new, the governor, and they didn't call us in, but they certainly called the DAs and the sheriffs in to work on the task, well, to work on a compromise. If you all have heard of the task, I don't know, let me give it the whole name. Louisiana Justice Reinvestment Task Force Report and Recommendations. This is a task force where the head of the public defender of the state did partake, ex-DAs, DAs, judges. We had 3 people from our district there. Terry Landry was there, Judge Landry was there, and Bo Dewey was there. So we were significantly represented because there was only about maybe 15 people. So we had a pretty serious representation. And they are now working diligently to, working to reduce the incarceration rate. They came to a compromise of trying to reduce it by 10% in 10 years. As a liberal public defender, you know I don't think that's enough, but hey, it's better than nothing. They are also came to an agreement about how much money is going to be reinvested in helping those who are incarcerated. And this is a lot of what DOC wants to do. They're overloaded, they can't handle it. And we're going to have some hopefully new laws which are going to change some of the penalties for things that should be changed. The DAs won't let anything bad get away from them, I'm sure. But they're also going to be changing the ways we rehab people, because that's a word that really isn't in existence in this state. So they're going to be teaching, we're going to have some wonderful, I think, reentry programs, drug programs, through, we hope, they're going to reinvest a lot of money that they're saving that goes back into the prison system so that when people get out, they have a chance. There's lots of very interesting bills and things. I'm not going to go into them, but we have some great things that are before the House and the Senate, and things like letting people vote 5 years after they're out of jail. You know, they've lost their right to vote. Letting people get food stamps when they just get out of jail. There's a lot of things that we really need to do. I think that That's it. I tried to talk fast so you wouldn't be too bored, but if you have a question, I would love to respond if I can.
Any questions?
Nothing from Dan Doyle. I'm not taking one question from Dan Doyle. Anybody else? Thank y'all very much.
Thank you enough for coming.
Thank you.
Very informative. Thank you.
And I'm wondering where Natalie is. She just knows the whole story, so she didn't come.
Madam Clerk, item number 3B.
Okay, West End Council of Neighborhood Associations Incorporated, presentation by Robbie Bethel in connection with Back in the Game Room Summer Enrichment Program.
Good afternoon,
Good afternoon.
Mayor and Councilmen and Councilwomen. Also to the City of New Iberia residents. My name is Robbie Bethel, and I am the Community Liaisons and Secretary for the Western Council of Neighborhood Associations. Warren White is our fundraising chair. Our president is sitting in the audience, Ms. Eva Lewis. And some of our board members are not here this afternoon, but we all work as a team. And if I can, just for a moment, I would like to call Heather Dominic up, because she actually works with us very diligently to put on this Back in the Game Room summer program.
Well, thank you, Ms. Robbie, not necessary, but the West End Council of Neighborhood Associations and the City of New Iberia, for the third year running, have collaborated together and brought back in the game room. It's a summer enrichment program, and this summer we're going to do it once again. I'll just give you basic information, and then I know Ms. Robbie and Warren are eager to say more about it. Actually, this year, the program is gonna begin June 5th through July 27th at Weston Park. It's going to be held Monday through Thursdays from 8:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. And we're gonna accept kids ages 6 through 12 years old. It's a $10 registration fee, and we have space open to 100 kids. And it's really a good program, and I'll let them give some details about some of the things they bring in, because they're really the overseers. They bring in the special guests and really get the community out and get them involved. And we really appreciate their efforts. Thank you.
Each summer, Back in the Game Room provides opportunities for children ages 6 to 12 to enjoy themselves while they become academically enriched, and also work on their social skills. Through Back in the Game Room, children develop good self-image and a sense of independence, but most of all, they obtain all these skills while they are having fun. One of the main things that Western Council of Neighborhood Associations over the last 3 summers, and this will be the 4th summer, that we have conducted the Back in the Game Room. We've serviced in Back in the Game Room over 500 children throughout the city of New Iberia. We do all this voluntarily. No one gets paid. We provide the children a full balanced meal for lunch, hot balanced meal provided by different sponsors, small business owners, community residents, and we also provide them with workshops all during the day in which they're at Back in the Game Room. This is a place that we felt that the children of the city and the West End needed this back in the game room to be safe during the summer months while they're out of school, and also to practice on their enrichment skills so that when they get back in their school, they're ready to go. We don't look at it as just a fun place to be, because children still need to be learning as they're having fun. And what I can say is that we provide a summer program for children that's not just available, but also accessible to them. Because in the West End, not just having a program that's available is enough. It has to be accessible to the children to get there. So it's very important to the West End community and children to have this program. And the city has helped us and worked with us diligently over the last this will be the 4th summer. Marlon Lewis, Councilman Marlon Lewis, is also on WECNA's board. And Marlon comes out and he actually teaches tennis in the mornings, on Monday mornings. So we have a wide range of volunteers who come out. We're gonna have the Choctaw Indian tribe that's gonna come out this summer, teach the children basket weaving. We have sewing classes. We have the Performing Arts School is going to be there. They're actually going to be studying under Debbie Allen for a week in June. So when they come back, they're going to be every week, twice a week in the Weston Park with the theater and arts. And one of the prides that I have right now is a letter that was sent to, addressed to Mr. Mayor and the esteemed council. And it comes from the desk of Theodore B. Williams III. And Theodore B. Williams III is an alternative investments professional with Nuveen. He actually works on Wall Street. He's an assessment manager firm with over $900 billion of invested capital. He grew up in New Iberia, having lived on the West End and on the Ann Street corridor. Theodore currently resides in New York City with his wife Jennifer, and he wanted the council to know in the alternative investments industry, we utilize a number of complex metrics to make investment decisions. These metrics generally attempt to answer one of two questions. If I invest $1 today, what is my annual financial outcome? Or if I invest $1, can I ensure that management will be efficient in how that dollar is spent? So it is no surprise that when I was first introduced to the Back in the Game Room Summer Enrichment Program, that I wondered what $1 or $500 or $1,000 could do to generate positive outcomes for youths in New Iberia. What I learned provided a compelling case for philanthropic investment. A community of residents had come together to create a summer of engaging activities for young people in the West End Park. The children are afforded the opportunity to interact with positive figures and influences. The children are exposed to intellectually broadening content in both the arts and the sciences. They are fed wholesome meals prepared by community members. And the most impressive part, the budget is negligible due to the commitment of residents to be the village that is needed to build strong men and women who will lead their community, invest in their community, and be proud of their community. My decision to invest in the youth of New Iberia was driven by 3 factors. 1, my belief of intended outcomes of the Summer Enrichment Program. 2, the capital efficiency of Robbie Carrier Bethel and the entire village of residents committed to the children of the community. 3, lastly, in personal dedication to my grandfather, the late Ernest Fat Richard of J.B. Henderson Alley, who embodied the positive, encouraging spirit of West End residents until his final day on this earth. It is my hope that a priority of philanthropic investment will continue to expand in the West End neighborhood and throughout New Iberia as we build a strong, more prosperous village to mold and influence our young people. I believe in New Iberia, and I believe in the next generation. And I believe in each of us. And this came from the desk of Theodore B. Williams III. And so we're very proud of the summer program in the West End Park, and we hope to expand it in the future, because one of the things that we believe is that when the community becomes engaged in creating a safe place, a healthy community to live and grow, then everyone wins. It's a win for the city, it's a win for the children, and it's a win for the parents. So thank you, City of New Iberia, Parks and Recreation, Council, for your support, and we look forward to our Back in the Game Room summer program. And Warren might have something he needs to say or want to say.
She didn't say everything. She didn't say everything. So the only thing I want to say, I want to thank two of our biggest sponsors, Mr. Dan Dahl and the mayor. Been sponsors for the past few years, and this helps us to put on this program. The money that they sponsor us with, that's what we fund everything we do in New Iberia. So thank y'all, and continue being our sponsors, and more sponsors, please come.
Let me just say on behalf of all of us, you say that you're proud, we're proud of y'all. Thank you for everything that you've done. We see the beauty of this program. We see what it does for our kids. It's just a wonderful thing to watch our community come together. So we can't thank you enough. It's something that I know we all will continue to sponsor, and couldn't do it without y'all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further comments? All right, we'll move on to item 3C. Madam Clerk.
Paul Allen and Jane Bro, a presentation for the creation of a National Register Downtown Commercial District.
I'm just going to bring up a couple of slides. Okay, thank you so much for allowing us to come and talk to you about the creation of a National Register District. And we'll just take you through a couple of slides. New Iberia in the 1890s, such historic architecture and just really impressive. You know, there are things about our downtown which are so important and we feel need to be preserved.
To tell you where we are, the building on your far left is the Bassus building. We're standing at the post office right now, looking towards Lafayette, the village of Lafayette, over Millionville back then. And you can see the amount of architectural detailing that were on the buildings, a number of balconies that were in place, horse and buggy, time of transportation, and then lots of boardwalks, not particularly sidewalks, nor did you have paved streets. Lots of electrical poles. You can see that on the left side, and all the wires have been whited out in this photograph. But it was a growing community back then.
And as we are today, bringing some of those balconies back.
The photograph you see is kind of identifies the streetscape, and for historic preservation, that's really important, both on the state and national level. What they're looking for is a beautification of your downtown area, and especially opportunity for pedestrians to come down and shop and experience the architecture, the culture, the history, the restaurants, the shops, all the amenities that are offered in the downtown district. You're looking towards the post office, which is in the direction of New Orleans.
And just to explain to you what the National Register District is, a couple of months ago, the mayor and Paul and I met with Jessica, who is the director of the National Register District reviews through the state office, through the Lieutenant Governor's office, and we were talking to her about some individual National Register listings. And it was at her suggestion that at that time, we began to focus on creating a National Register District because she said we have so many architecturally significant buildings in one area of downtown that it would benefit the city and the property owners and potential investors to create that district, because with the creation and approval of the district, that opens the door to federal financial tax incentives. So
We as part of this process of the designation, to create a district, you're required to identify buildings as being contributors and non-contributors. A contributor is a building that's got significant architectural history associated with it, and what the Department of Interior is looking for is a percentage of structures that they're looking at. What we found out is that at least 80% of your buildings need to be contributors within the district. The blue identifies the buildings that are identified as being significant. The red are the ones that are insignificant. Insignificant means that the building's architectural character has been modified or changed or altered, so it no longer represents a particular style or the original architecture of the building. The district itself, there's several different lines here, and Jane has a little bit of chronology on why those lines are what they are. Do you want to talk about that?
yeah, we started, actually, when we started to assign a boundary line to the district, we wanted to go wide. You know, we wanted to cover most of downtown and actually just overlay our existing cultural district and historic district. And so it was at Jessica's suggestion that we bring those boundaries in because of the detail and the intense work that it takes to submit the application and to attach an application. So she said, you know, bring it in some. So we went with the yellow lines, and then we forwarded, you know, our new boundaries to her to review, and she actually, there was someone from the National Park District in her office, and he took a look at it, and he said, no, they really need to pull those boundaries in. They'd have a better chance, you know, by consolidating some of those buildings of importance. So where you see the green lines is are the boundaries that we're going to submit.
Within the district presently, there's 8 buildings listed on the National Register for Historic Places, which is quite significant. And those are so well preserved, and the persons who own the buildings took the initiative to do that, and that's really important. This is not Disneyland, this is real architecture. This is important for the history of the community and the history of the state. And that's kind of what they're interested in. And they're willing to come to the plate, and they're willing to offer some significant incentives to be able to refurbish buildings. This is a chart that shows, it's one of our survey charts. We have several of these. We have 108 building sites. Each one of them has to be filled out. We've got to identify a location, significant or non. We've got to identify the GPS coordinates. We've got to get some history about the building. We've got to identify the style of architecture. It's quite detailed. Jane and I have been working the last couple of weeks on it, and we've got a couple more weeks to work on it. It's due at the end of the month. But I think we've got a good start. It's exciting. There's a lot of interesting architecture out there. And Mr. Glenn Conrad's book has been a great resource for us to use.
So these are the proposed boundaries. All the buildings located within that district. We're in the process of notifying those property owners to let them know that, that their buildings are located in the district, and if we are successful with getting approval from the National Park Service, we actually submit the application to the state, and there's a state review committee that reviews it and approves it to move on to the National Park Service. It is a federal designation, and as you know, we already have a National Register East Main Street district. A residential district is on the National Register. So this will be, in addition to that, this district will be just commercial buildings, includes just commercial buildings. So what does the designation do, and what can it do? You want to talk about the credits?
Sure. The state of Louisiana offers a 25% state tax credit. It's called a state commercial tax credit. I'm going to start from the bottom and work up. There's a three-part application process that you have to go through, but basically, if the building, if you do things on the building, originally the building had to qualify, but now it's in the district, it's going to automatically qualify. So you don't have to go through that qualification process. So a building will qualify for an incentive. But you do have to adhere to some of the guidelines for the architecture because they do not want you to change the architecture. There's certain restrictions with respect to certain elements, like you can't put a fence up in landscaping and they won't pay for that. But they'll pay for, or they won't pay for an addition, but they'll pay for the enhancement of the existing architecture, which is really important. That way you don't change the architecture. On the federal side, you get a 20% federal tax credit. So you add those two up. If you put a $100,000 investment into a building, you're going to get a 45% credit back on that investment, and that's quite substantial. It could be done in a matter of personal income tax on the persons that own the building, or if you feel like you can't use the tax credits, like the film tax credits, they can be sold on the open market. It's a great program. I personally have used it before. We qualified for that on our project because we're in the historic district. It really helped out a lot. And to bring this on home, we do have a client presently who invested substantially on a piece of property on Main Street. It's called the Cane River Pecan Company, the Regard family. And so this is a real project. This is real money being reinvested. And in just a moment, I'll read a letter from Mr. Regard, who wasn't able to make it here tonight. But this gets real. And so people want to invest in downtown. I know the mayor's met with several potential investors. They'd like to see a program like this. It will kick some incentives off. It'll get people interested in reinvesting in the downtown area. And the beauty about this is that at some point in time, success, it always has that capability for expansion.
Exactly. There's one other incentive to add to that, too, is the restoration tax abatement, which if your building is located in a National Register district, you automatically qualify for that incentives. And we do have several buildings that are vacant at this time. So we really feel strongly that, the National Register designation will help those building owners to market their property in a different way. And that's what attracts investors is, they're looking for those incentives.
I'd like to read a letter, if that's okay, from J.D. Regard, who wasn't here, and he wrote it to Jane. He says, Jane, thank you for reaching out concerning this matter. And the subject says National Registered Downtown Commercial Historic District. Under any other circumstances, I'd love to be there. Unfortunately, I'll be out of town for business. Please, however, if you can, let the council know my feelings. As a soon-to-be new corporate resident of Main Street, Cane River Pecan Company simply could not realize the project we want to create without the help and assistance of the tax credits that would be available to us as a result of the new district. We plan to take over a blighted building on a beautiful historic Main Street, a chance to revitalize a portion of Main Street along the way, creating new permanent jobs in the downtown area and bringing a new tourism destination to our lovely Queen City. It is a win for us, it is a win for property owners, it is a win for employed residents, a win for our sales tax base, and a win for the city of New Iberia. Programs like these, when deployed correctly, can do their part to revitalize a community. One project surely can lead to another and another and another. I can only hope that other landowners seek out help to try and find ways to renovate their historic buildings so we can all pull together to restore and revitalize the historic district that any other community can only wish they possess. While new construction will always play a role in our growth community on the outskirts of town, it is a strong and vibrant downtown that always remain as a heartbeat of New Iberia. Let's do what we can to take care of our heart. Sincerely, J.D. Regard, Pecan River Company.
We also have one other letter from Mike Tarantina, who couldn't join us tonight, too. And it says, Dear Council members, the IDF, recognizing the importance of a downtown National Register district to the revitalization of downtown New Iberia, wholeheartedly supports the submission of an application seeking this important designation. The help and assistance of the tax credits that will be available to as a result of this new district are important to businesses wanting to locate within the district. The revitalization of our downtown area is extremely important for New Iberia. The creation of new jobs, increased tourism revenues, and the additional retail and commercial businesses locating in the downtown area are all positive outcomes that can be achieved by acquiring this important designation. We enthusiastically support programs like this that will help us develop and maintain a strong and vibrant downtown.
What the designation does not do, I think that's important. It does not restrict the use of the property. It does not restrict the sale of the property. It does not require continued maintenance of private property. It does not require that any specific guideline be followed in rehabilitation unless the owner is using federal funds or rehabilitation tax credits. For example, the owner of a listed property may paint his building any color he chooses. Does not require the owner to give tours of the property or open it to the public. Does not guarantee funding for restoration. Does not require guaranteed perpetual maintenance of the property. Does not provide a National Register plaque or state historic marker for the property, although property owners are eligible to acquire such markers at their own expense. So it really it's really quite a shock to see an opportunity for the city to apply for this status. It would be an economic boost significantly for those buildings that are downtown and people who are trying to sell those buildings or reinvest in those buildings, for out-of-town investors to come in, and for those people who will understand the possibilities themselves of the buildings that they can adaptively reuse. Any questions?
I have a question. You made a mention that this is only commercial buildings.
Right.
But in the past, I remember you mentioned earlier with your project, I know there's other commercial buildings, but the historic district was able to get some funding to do some upgrading, or I'm not sure what.
The facade grants.
Right.
Now called RIG.
Right, and that is different than this.
Yes.
They can apply for those grants still and apply for something?
Well, I'm sorry to say, we had a staff member from the State Main Street office attend our Historic District Commission meeting last night, and he said that that portion of funding in their program has been cut out of the budget.
But it could be maybe picked up through this program.
No, this
No?
is separate. This is,
Separate.
yeah, this is just
Okay.
tax credits. That
Just tax
the
credits.
facade grant
Was
program
money-
was strictly through the state,
Right.
and this is federal.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? Comments? Great. Can't thank you for your hard work.
Thank you so
I
much.
know how much y'all have put into this, and let's hope we're successful.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Item number 4, Madam Clerk.
Public hearing on budget amendment ordinance number 2016-2017-05, which notice was published on May 15, 2017.
I need a motion to open the public hearing. So moved by Mayor Pro Tem Dahl. Do I have a second? Second by Councilmember Broussard. Do we have any public comment? Hearing no public comment, I need a motion to close the public hearing. So moved by Mayor Pro Tem Dahl, second by Councilmember Lewis. Madam Clerk?
Budget amendment ordinance number 2016-2017-05, amending the ordinance levying certain taxes, appropriating the funds necessary to defray the expenses and liabilities of the city of New Iberia for the year 2016-2017, to carry over funding from fiscal year 2016 for the Jefferson Terrace Drainage Project Phase 1.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilmember Ledbetter. Do I have a second?
Yep.
Councilmember Broussard. Do we have any discussion? Hearing no discussion, please vote your machines. Great, thank you. Now we move on to item 4B. Madam Clerk?
Public hearing on budget amendment ordinance number 2016-2017-06, which notice was published on May 15, 2017.
I need a motion to open the public hearing.
Motion.
A motion by Councilmember Sherry Guidry and
got it
a
right.
second by Councilmember Dustin Swear. Do we have any discussion on this item? Hearing no discussion on this item, I need a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion.
Motion by Councilmember Lewis and a second by Councilmember Broussard. All right, Madam Clerk?
Budget amendment ordinance number 2016-2017-06, amending the ordinance levying certain taxes, appropriating the funds necessary to defray the expenses and liabilities of the city of New Iberia for the year 2016-2017, to carry over funding from fiscal year 2016 for the Church Alley and Bicycle Trail project.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilmember Ledbetter, second. I did Councilmember Lewis. Great. Do we have any discussion on this
I
item?
got a question there.
Yes, sir.
It looks like later on in the agenda, we voting for the award the contract for
correct.
that, right?
That's correct.
So the money that we're doing in a general fund, can you explain to me where the money's being transferred from?
It's $26,000 that's coming out of the general fund, and that's our match. We have money coming from the state, which they have increased by $20,000, which we're very fortunate to get that. But the money that we will be transferring, and we need to do this budget amendment before we approve the contract, because I have to have the money approved to pay for it. But that money will be coming out of the general fund. It's a 20% match.
So it's the 26,000 from?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Any further discussion, questions?
Yes,
Yes.
when will the project, if we do decide to vote the project, beginning, ending?
It's coming soon. He's ready to go to work.
Okay.
I talked to him during the week. I saw him last week, and he basically said he's ready to start. Timeline on the project, Paul, do you remember how many days? 100 days, is what I thought. It's a pretty quick project.
And is there a phase 2 on this actual project, or is it just phase?
We have the idea of phase 2 and kind of a concept, but we don't have the money.
Right.
I would say that at some point we'll be looking for some future funds to do a phase 2.
Okay.
So hopefully.
Okay.
Further discussion?
One more
Yes,
question.
sir.
That 26,000 coming from general fund. Early in, I think last month, we got some monies to pay Mr. Ali, I think.
Yes.
For the architect fees.
Correct.
Around 14,000 something.
Correct.
And that was, that came from our general fund also?
Yes, it did.
Okay. Good, thank you.
Sure. Further discussion? Great. Please vote your machines. Great, thank you. Madam Clerk, 4C.
Public hearing on ordinance number 1710, which notice was published on May 11, 2017.
I need a motion to open the public hearing. Motion by Councilmember Broussard, second by Councilmember Lewis. Have any public comment? Hearing none, I'll motion to close the public hearing. Motion by Councilmember Broussard, I need a second.
Second.
Councilmember Lewis, public hearing's now closed. Now we move on to the ordinance. Madam Clerk?
Ordinance number 1710, recognizing the formal form and execution of the bond purchase agreement in connection with the issuance and sale of its revenue refunded bonds, Series 2017, and providing for other matters in connection therewith.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilmember Ledbetter. Do I have a second? Councilmember Broussard. We see Jason Akers here. We have any questions? Jason, do you want to say anything?
I'll be very quick because we discussed this 2 weeks ago. This is just a reminder, we've already sold the refunding bonds. This merely accepts the final form of the bond purchase agreement. We're actually scheduled to close on Thursday. At that point, the refunded maturities of those 2010C bonds will go away. They'll no longer exist for your financial purposes. They'll be replaced by these refunding bonds instead, and you'll save money in the process.
Awesome. That's good. Sure. I got a question. Yes, sir.
You had the detail, Jason, you gave us, and on this, of the bonds.
Yes,
and
sir.
the rate that we're getting it at is, what is, 2%?
The rate that you're getting, it varies. It increases per maturity.
Yeah, that's what I was.
Yeah, certainly when we're looking at a bond sale, we're looking more at yield instead of rate because that's the true value of the dollars that you're paying. You're going from something that, as memory serves, was between 4 and 5% to in the low ones to up to just above 2%, 2.5% now over the life of the years.
We were on this.
The total savings is $160,000 over the remaining term.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
And we got to get credit on that 11,000 included in that.
That is included in that, so we'll call it 171,000.
That's right. Thank you.
And as far as the interest rate is concerned, what's the highest interest rate that we want to stay within between 2 and 4? I see here on the interest rate paper, but what's the highest that we would still be in good standing with, that we can all agree upon, that you think is feasible?
Oh, I mean, these have already been sold. These rates have been locked in
Right.
at this point.
Okay.
So,
So there's no variable?
no,
Everything's
I'm
fixed?
sorry. These are fixed. These rates are fixed for the entire life of the bonds. They will not change from what you see on the paper in front of you.
Thank you.
Yeah, no matter what rates do, no matter what the Fed decides to do, no matter what anybody, if they want to make more money on their bonds, too bad. They're locked in at this point.
Any further discussion? Jason, I can't thank you for your work on this.
Thank you.
Council, please vote your machine. Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, item 40.
Public hearing on ordinance number 1711, which notice was published on May 5th, 2017, and May 12th, 2017.
I need a motion to open the public hearing. Motion. Okay. Councilmember Broussard and second by Councilmember Swear. Is there anyone for public comment? Hearing none, I need a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion.
Motion by Councilmember Lewis, need a second. Councilmember Broussard, had your hand up. Okay, now, Madam Clerk.
Ordinance number 1711, altering the boundaries of New Iberia Highway 14 Economic Development District Number 1 to absorb the territory included within New Iberia Highway 14 Economic Development District Number 2, dissolving New Iberia Highway 14 Economic Development District Number 2, and providing for other matters in connection with the foregoing.
Need a motion?
Motion.
Councilmember Guidry. Do you have a second?
Second.
Councilmember Lewis. We have any discussion on this item? Councilmember Lewis, good.
You've already explained it to us, but just for the sake of the voters or the people that are watching it at a later date, would you explain District 1 and District 2 and how we're combining the economic development and where the line starts and where it's going to end?
We have some maps, but I'll
Yes,
do my best.
District 1 and District 2 combined.
Right. We're going to combine them, and they start at right around Week Street, right around that little convenience store, and it goes up to the city line, which is at Highway 90.
Highway 90.
And it's 2 districts, and one of our districts had nothing in it. It basically is the
Lots.
sewer plant and just vacant land, so there's nothing to turn it on to collect. So by dissolving that line, we'll have one larger district that will be one district instead of 2. And so that's the point of this, is to have that one district.
And can you explain the benefits for the people that are watching at a later date? Being that we do this, what would be the benefit for us as a city?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
by combining them together.
Yeah, by having the district and having one district, the function of it is to have incentives for new developers. So basically, what we're trying to do is turn on our TIF districts, which lets us compete with Youngsville, Broussard, all the other communities that have had these for probably 10, 15 years. It allows us to offer those incentives for people who are coming. It is a small, TIF is a tax on the existing businesses in that district, and that money can only be spent in the district and only for new development. So what it's going to do is bring new business, new jobs,
Tax
and new clients for our existing businesses. That's a point that's important to remember. Get that right, Jason?
I couldn't have said it better.
That is right.
Certainly, and I would agree that one of the basic premises of Louisiana law dealing with special districts is the revenue created or collected within a district is to be used within that district. There was a reason, I'm sure, for creating the separate districts when it was done in 2009. I think that reason has probably since expired, and it makes sense to combine them at this point. And I'll note that there was discussion about the boundaries. I believe, Madam Clerk, the map was published, is that correct? And on maybe the May 12 edition of the Daily Iberian, if I'm not mistaken. So if it's available here as well, but certainly it was also published in the paper on May 12.
Okay.
One thing, I think you mentioned it was 2009, it was the past administration that I think they even went to battle with the parish and might have been legally of what they could and couldn't incorporate. And these lines was drawn in 2009.
Correct.
And the word alternating, we're just combining them. We're really not changing where they were approved in 2009. Is that?
That's a good point. We're just merely combining the boundaries of the two districts into one.
We're not changing what was
It is technically an alteration of District 1 because it did not include District 2, but there is no territory that will be included in District 1 now that was not included in either District 1 or District 2 when it was originally drawn in 2009. I think it's a very good clarification.
And I think at 2009, they had much more discussion about where the lines would be than we are having now. So
Yes.
the work was done prior.
Oh, yeah,
to
yeah,
us
we're not
getting
expanding.
It was just never implemented to start to collect the tax.
Correct.
So that's why it's
Yes.
going a lot quicker than if we would have started from scratch.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
And our next step, just to clarify, will be the discussion to turn the districts on, and it will be this district plus the district on 182, which I
Correct.
guess now will be called District Number 2.
Well, that one was actually New Iberia Highway 182 Economic Development District, so that one will stay the same.
That will stay like it
Yeah,
is.
that will stay
Okay,
the
great.
same.
But the further discussion at a later date will be to turn these districts on.
Correct.
One big,
Yes, sir.
in my district, talking about a lot of this area. Some of the money that we can use, we will use when we start collecting. Will be the time the Pepperplex in the back can open that land up from along Lowe's. They'll loop in the back of Pepperplex. It can open that up and we'll build a road for future businesses.
It could be.
You know,
It could
it's a
be.
good
You know,
spot.
we'll
It's
have to
good.
decide that, but I mean, it
Well,
could be.
that's
We need a
good.
developer to come
Yeah,
and somebody to come to give us the catalyst to do that.
That'll be an opening to use that money.
It
We
well
gotta
could-
use it in the district.
Yes, sir.
That'd be one of the better things we can think of.
It
to put a
it
road-
well might be, Mr.
And
Broussard.
they'll build businesses all along that road, they'll tie the Pepperplex in. Which the Pepperplex has been asking for that, for relieving the pressure from the people parking.
May I add a prime example? Is
Yes, sir.
the airport. We have a TIF off of Highway 90, which is a parish, but that's pretty much a prime example of how a TIF operates. The money is generated within that district and is used for improvements.
Right, it built that new
That's-
terminal.
It built the terminal, so it's a good thing. It's beneficial to do this, especially since it's already implemented. We just need to turn it on and activate
Yeah,
it.
no, this is a tool to grow our town, to
Right,
grow our
so-
community, and we desperately need it.
That's all I'm saying.
Any further discussion? I'll ask you to vote your machine. Great, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Jason. Number 5, resolutions, Madam Clerk.
Resolution accepting and awarding the bid to Moraine Construction for the Church Alley project and authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with Todd Moraine is duly authorized representative and notice to proceed.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Ooh, motion by, I don't know who was the first and the second.
I
Okay, then we'll say Councilmember Guidry's the first, Councilmember Ledbetter's the second. Thank y'all. Do we have any discussion? Yes, Mayor Pro Tem.
Got a couple. It looks like the contract amount is $156,578.
Yes, sir.
Do you know off the top of your head how much was grant towards this? Or how much we had to put in?
Everything except the $26,000.
And the 14?
And the 14 that we did in design.
So we put in about 40,000 to get 156,000.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Another question, they had the allowances on the page for the different 9 items.
Correct.
Those allowances are included in this 156.
Yes,
Correct?
yes, they are.
Okay.
They are. It's not over and above.
I just want to.
No, yeah, because that would add up to a lot of money.
Yeah,
No.
good, okay, thank you.
No, no problem. Further questions? I'll ask you to please vote your machines. Great, thank y'all. Madam Clerk, 5B.
Public hearing on resolution to support the creation of a National Register Downtown Commercial District, which notice was published on May 12, 2017 and May 15, 2017.
I need a motion to open the public hearing.
Motion.
Motion by Councilmember Lewis, need a second.
Motion.
Councilmember Broussard. Have any public comment? Hearing none, I need a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion.
Councilman Guidry, and a second?
Second.
Second. Councilman Lewis. Madam Clerk?
Resolution of support for an application to the National Park Service and Louisiana Division of Historic Preservation for the creation of a National Register Downtown Commercial District.
Need a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilmember Guidry, second by Councilmember Ledbetter. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none, please vote your machines. Motion carries, thank you. Madam Clerk, 5C.
Resolution authorizing the execution of an intergovernmental agreement with the Iberia Parish School Board for use of administrative building number 23 located at 502 Amber Drive, New Iberia, Louisiana, and adjacent parking lot during emergency situations for the staging of city personnel and city equipment during hurricanes and rising water.
Do I have a motion? Motion by Mayor Pro Tem Doyle, do I have a second?
Second.
Councilmember Ledbetter, yeah, I think it was a tie, but, do we have any discussion? Yes,
I have
sir.
a question. Is this the annual agreement that we have?
Yes, sir, it is every year. This is a high spot in the parish, and we do this every year, so we have a place to stage.
Not exactly where is this
I think we did it
location?
for 3 years this year.
Yeah, it was annual.
It was annual, and this time we did it for 3
They
years.
agreed to 3.
Okay. Where exactly is this location? I know it says Amber Drive, but what?
It's at the air base, and
At the air
it's
base?
some of the highest property that we have in the parish.
It's the first building, when you're going towards the technical college.
Okay.
The first building right there when you turn.
All right.
Further discussion? Hearing none, please vote your machines. Great. Item 5D, Madam Clerk.
Resolution authorizing the mayor to sign and submit the 2 LCDBG applications for the sewer rehabilitation projects, to negotiate and sign contracts with Domingue Zabo and Associates for the necessary engineering services, and to negotiate and sign 2 contracts with Minville and Associates for the necessary grant administrative services.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Lewis. Do I have a second?
Second.
Councilman Broussard. Do we have any discussion? Yes, Mayor Pro Tem.
We were talking about the contract with Mr. Menville, and then that we pay Mr. Menville so much, and the price is in here, so I guess we can say it's $1,400.
Yes, he gets paid $1,400 to prepare the grant. If we get the grant, then he gets the fees of the grant. If we don't get the grant, he doesn't get the fees. So that's where we are.
Okay, but the projects that we pick, like these are 2 projects right here.
Yes.
How does it come to to decide what project is it worth going to get? Does he help tell you, or how does that happen? You know what I mean? We don't want to go and chase him stuff that
He
we're ready.
doesn't. All that we've applied for, I've only been here for a short time. I'd like to call up our engineer Vince, but we apply for sewer projects with the grant money, with the block, because that's all, where we have our greatest need. And Vince, you can tell us how we select them.
He's been doing this for many years for the city. It's basically on income limits. He knows where the low moderate income demographic population lives. He knows, in combination with us and our consultant on the sewer issues, which areas within those low income areas need the most work. So between those two and that data, those areas are
Now,
selected.
we mentioned about contracts with Donmo and Zabo and Associates to help design of what we need for the project.
Correct.
Do they do the design work for the project prior to we getting the project, so we have expense to
there is-
pay them
Yes,
and might not get the contract?
correct.
Correct.
Yeah.
About $1,200 is the maximum I think they can charge for each
And
of
how
those.
many, if you don't mind, how many years have we been doing this? And we've been successful for quite a few.
40.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm
it's
just-
something, it's the only way we get money to fix these
Yeah.
areas.
But I was just wondering how the process works.
That's how it works. It's
You know.
based on need and income.
So we are taking a small risk, you know,
Yeah.
$1,200, $1,400 bucks. We are taking some small risk, but the return is.
Do we use Mr. Menville more than just these sewer projects? Is there any other?
He has done other grants for us, yes. This he bid on because we did an advertisement in the newspaper,
Okay.
and it was out for bid. He does do, you know, quite a few. He did some of the stuff, Armico, he did, he's done.
He did, but I know, my time on the council, he came across many times. I was just wondering how the process worked, so the public would know that we just, you know, we don't decide what we want sometimes. Sometimes we put it out there and whoever wants to bid the project.
It was
Yeah,
advertised.
yeah, we advertised it and we did it.
Thank you so much.
Oh, not a problem.
And again, Mr. Palumbo, if I may ask you again, can you say that again, how the projects are selected? You used the words that, according to low, moderate demographics, or according to income. Can you go a little bit further for, people that may view this a little later? Because a lot of times they want to know how these sewer rehabilitation projects are selected. Sometimes they'll call and say, why not my street? Why this street is chosen versus that one? Can you explain that again?
I'll try my best.
Thank
It's
you.
the Louisiana Community Development Block Grant Group awards to low moderate income families. Where that demographic exists, there has to be a population of a certain amount, a certain
Right.
percentage for that area to qualify. If the infrastructure needs are great in there, the project is justified and warranted. There's a lot of competition for these funds, so it's not just an application and you get it. Every municipality and every part of the state and the parish is applying for these same funds. So your application has to be a very good and very thorough and very needy project to get funded. So we actually did not get funded this year in the first round of funding, but we were notified recently that we may get picked in the second round of funding. So probably close to the tune of $1 million in rehab in these low moderate income areas. So keep your fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Without it,
For a couple $1,000,
we don't have a
it's
budget
pretty
for
good
it. So.
risk, you know. You know, there's also a case in point in times that we would put up more money to buy some points. That's a whole different scenario, but he's talked to me about that if he knew we were close and that there was a way he would pre-check and know that if we put some more money up, we would definitely get it, that could happen. If that would happen, believe me, I'll have to come back to y'all, but that there are some other instances.
It's making your project more project ready. If the state sees you committed $40,000 or $50,000 more toward your application, then you get more points ahead of the game. We just don't have those funds
But
to
we
put
knew we
up
wouldn't do that until we knew we were gonna get it.
this
It
year.
would have to be a assured thing.
We have done it in the past.
And we have. That's
And
why I'm
we've
bringing it
gotten the
up. It
grants.
could be, you know, if I have to come back and say, hey, we're close, you know, this could push us over the edge, we'll have to make that decision together.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, I have a
Yes,
question.
sir.
It's almost a tongue twister, so bear with me. CDBG, Community Development Block Grant, is designed for improvements in infrastructure in lower income areas, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, I noticed the money had been used on sewerage, the money that we went after for the last 10 years, probably.
Right.
But I see some spots where it was used on housing and
Oh, you're right.
different things like that.
And in the future, it can be. We have concentrated, I know the city, you know, when I was here before, our sewer was such a need that we concentrated on sewer because that was kind of the greatest need at the time.
Right.
But these grants can do other things.
Right, so kind of like, I guess what I'm asking, are we out of the water with the sewer, and can we start in the future, start looking towards housing? Because I realize our demolition department, they need money to tear down some of these houses drastically in the underdevelopment communities or in the low-income communities. You know, just kind of want to put that on your mind and on the council's mind, you going forward, that we be looking into those things as well. You know, because I know we spending a lot of money on sewers, we paying a lot for sewers too.
Yes, sir.
We
are. And I'm trying to keep us from paying more if I
Right.
can, so that's one
what it's
reason.
basically,
Yeah,
the
I mean-
priority is, what you're saying is the sewer right now, and
It still is for a while, because we don't have any other way to fix
It is, if I could.
You know, yeah, sure.
Our legal will be submitting a legal document to the EPA and the state for us to terminate our consent decree at the beginning of next month. Depending on how that goes with the EPA and the DEQ, that should give us a break, somewhat of a break, from spending every dollar we have on sewer rehab. So there may be an opportunity to start maybe looking at some housing LCDBG
And there's
grants.
no reason we can't pay him to do another grant.
That's correct.
You know,
But,
I mean, the
you
other
know,
end, there's only so much money to go around, so we're competing against ourselves if we turn in too many. Probably.
Absolutely.
It's all in the same pot.
But,
you know?
so we're at that point though, just FYI.
Well, Freddie, we were under the decree, we had no choice.
You're right.
Remember?
No, you're
While
right.
you were here, while I was
Yeah,
there.
no, you're right.
We had to spend the money for that, or it would have cost us a lot more money in this.
And they may come back and say we're not
Yeah.
satisfied with what's been
We
done,
not-
right? So
I'm-
we really,
I'm with
it's a
you.
coin toss at this point. They've given me no clue as to how they're gonna respond to our request for termination.
Yeah, it's a
So
request.
And Vince, I met Vince when I was in leadership Iberia, we toured the plant, and he gave us some good information about the decree and, you know, where we were at. So my question was really answered, that we're getting close to not having to always go after CDGB money for a sewer. And we can start looking at it for other areas of our city.
It's a possibility, definitely a possibility.
Thank you, Vince.
Okay.
Any further questions, discussion? Hearing none, please vote your machine. Great, thank y'all. Item number 6, Madam Clerk.
Resolution ordering a special election, a public hearing on consideration of action regarding levy of public safety sales tax, which notice was published on April 14th, 2017.
Need a motion to open the public hearing?
Motion.
Second.
Councilmember Swear, Councilmember Lewis. Do we have anyone to comment? Any public comment? Hearing none, I need a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion.
Councilmember Guidry,
Second.
Councilmember Swear. Madam Clerk.
Resolution ordering and calling a special election to be held in the city of New Iberia, state of Louisiana, to authorize the levy of a sales and use tax therein, make an application to the State Bond Commission in connection therewith, and providing for other matters in connection therewith.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilmember Ledbetter. Do I have a second?
Second.
Councilmember Lewis. Do we have any discussion, question?
Can you
Yes.
let the public know when this election will be held?
October the 14th is when we're heading to an election, and this is one of our final steps in getting, let Jason come up and tell us about it.
Sorry, I was learning from Vince as well for a
Oh,
little
well.
bit, so I apologize.
He's our guy.
Correct. The election is October 14th, and there will actually be by law a notice of publication, a notice of election published in the Daily Iberian. It'll be published 4 times, beginning probably late July, early August, in order to satisfy state law requirements. So there'll be an amount of publicity of the election date. And it'll be at all the regular polling places within the city as well.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
What's the latest date that we can put something else if we wanted on the agenda that might creep up on us? If we wanted to add something to the election, besides this? Can we put
Tonight.
something else on?
Tonight.
Unfortunately, it is
What you got?
tonight.
No, I'm picking.
Seriously, we pre-filed the state bond commission application in anticipation of adoption. So, no, I wish I had a better answer for you. There's a long lead time with the October election for some reason, but that is particularly set by the Secretary of State. So.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Do we know if there's any other election taking place with this election? Or this is going to be a single, do you know of anything coming
The
up?
state treasurer's race is a statewide race that'll be on the ballot at this time. Within the parish, I'm not aware. I believe there's a judge's race that's ongoing, if I'm not mistaken. Is that, there may be one or other two items on the ballot. I think there's a judge's race. There may be a parish councilman replacement, but that may have, I think that's happening as well. And excuse me, the parish council last week called a charter amendment election as well. So there will be a few other things on the ballot. And the way that works is that it splits the cost. The state takes 50%, and then the remaining 50% is split by the other local elections that are on.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any further discussion? I'll ask you to please vote your machines. Thank you. Item number 7. Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Marlon Lewis for discussion and awareness on increase in gun violence and shootings in the city of New Iberia.
Yeah, Mayor and Council and audience. You know, with the summer nearing, we always talk about those kids not having anything to do. We had several gun violence cases or issues over this last year, you know. And when I talk about guns, I'm talking about shots fired in the air. I'm talking about people actually shooting at each other, you know. And every time I talk about gun violence, or I talk about the abuse of guns, you know, I thought about we always heard guns in our community because we live in a sportsman paradise. You know, you would hear hunters shooting out in the woods. When the woods were a little closer, the woods done moved out a little bit. And now, you know, as a community, we're in the woods. And one of the things I brought this up for is as a council, I would like to see more unity and cohesiveness concerning this issue. Because, you know, what I've been hearing a lot in the streets and in the barber shops and places like that, you know, that it's happening in this district and it's happening in that district, or it wasn't my district, or this was district in that district. And the thing about it, you know, I thought about something one day. I say it's happening in all our districts. You know, they buying the bullets in District 1.
The body's landing in District 5.
They driving through, they shooting in District 2. The bullet is landing in District 5. They taking highway, Jefferson Hopkins Street, which is partially District 3 to get out of town. You follow what I'm saying? They may throw the gun in District 6, which is the bayou. You follow what I'm saying? So this is all our issue.
All our problem. Yeah.
You know, and I just feel like we need to working on that issue together. We have some things in the work within the community. We're going to put up some billboards, stop the violence billboards, and yard signs and things like that, just to create awareness. Because I'm going to tell y'all, it's near and dear to me, because even though it's happening in our city, some of the things are happening in my community, you know, to some of the elders and some of the babies. And you see, the thing about it, guns were always available, but the ages are getting lower. My brother, I'm a victim of gun violence. My brother got shot in 1992, 2 inches away from his heart. And he's still with us, you know. And we've made changes in our lives to make things better, but all we can do is change ourselves. We can't change the world. But now that I'm elected as city councilman, then I have to make an impression and try to get some resolve in this issue. And I'm saying I, but it's we. You know, and you know, I've been riding the district, and the sheriff has been making an impact. And I haven't been seeing a whole lot of laundering. You know, I'm gonna just call it what it is, drug laundering. I haven't been seeing a whole lot of that. You know, so, you know, continued efforts is what I'm looking for. Because we can't sleep on our laurels because we see it's calm. And it's always a calm before the storm. And, you know, with the summer coming up, and these kids, I'm glad this was on the agenda at the same time with the back in the game room thing, you know, because those babies need to be protected. You know, they had a 7-year-old boy in Moss Bluff, brought a gun to school. So, you know, I need for us to band together to get with law enforcement. We had a meeting in the council chambers. It wasn't a council meeting because we didn't want to break public meeting laws. When we talked, we had some people, and we had some good talks about it. We talked about gun buyback programs. You know, we find out if those work or they don't work. But we need to constantly be thinking about this, you know, because we bragging on New Iberia. We got historic districts. We talk about all we have, you know. But then sometimes we start talking about how good we're doing, and we forget about those things like gun violence, you see. So my thing is to the council for us to remember that we're a team, and that every time somebody gets killed, they died in our city, they got shot in our city, see. So, and for those parents, do like the old people used to do. Go check them children's room and see what they got in those rooms. Because if a 13-year-old boy got a gun in the house, or if he has a gun, he don't have a house. So the gun is in your house, under your house, or around your house. You know. So, you know, it's just something I wanted to bring up to the council. And if you guys have any feedback, or even if you just want to talk about how y'all just as angry as I am with what's happening, and y'all want to see things change, and it always go back. I was trying to stay away from getting us a police department, you know, but it always go back to that, you know, having law enforcement that you, our mayor, can call and say, look, we got a problem in District 2. We got a problem in District 5. I need y'all over there, you know, and we just don't have that control right now. But again, I do want to thank the sheriff for the impact that I've seen in my community, but continue your efforts, because if that tax don't pass, we got to get ready to work.
We have to work either way.
You know, we got to get ready to work, you know. So I'm going to put it on y'all mind. I don't know if y'all was thinking it, but I'm going to put it on y'all mind. You know, that's all I have on that.
Mayor? That's one reason why we having this, the symposium on crime on Thursday. Our mayor is going to be one of the panelists. We're inviting the community to come out and be a part of the conversation. We're going to have Terry Landry, our state representative for District 96. He's going to be a part of it. Sheriff Ackle is going to be a part of it. Also a police chief from Opelousas, Chief Donald Thompson. So we're going to have also somebody from Crime Stoppers will be there. So in conjunction with our Neighborhood Watch meeting, Smile Community Action, celebrating National Community Action Month, and we're coming together to do this for our community, 6 o'clock at the Slyman on Thursday. And it's District 4 and 5, kind of sponsoring together with our Neighborhood Watch. So we're very happy to have the community to come in, to listen to our panelists, share some ideas, and at least offer. We're trying to, the theme is impact, empowerment, and solutions. So we're trying to put all that together to help our community. And I'm thankful to Councilmember Lewis for putting it on the agenda. And of course, he's going to be a part of Thursday night also. And we're inviting all the council members, parish council, everybody in the community, come on out and be a part of it. We're in this together, and we need some solutions.
Thank you.
think it's the adults. The adults in the homes, half of the trouble is you're not locking up your guns. I hunted with the best of them. We had our own land. We hunted a lot. I've given up my guns a lot. I've overgrown that. Got them out the house where it doesn't happen. I think it's at home. We better lock up the guns. We better know where they are, because half of this is coming from kids taking guns from home and using them. So please, the public need to lock up there. If you're not using it, get rid of it. You know, if you're not gonna use a gun, don't leave it tempting around for the kids. So I think a lot of it in that one this morning, how did that little kid get that gun? From the parent. They didn't charge that little kid second, third grade, whatever, it dropped out his book sack and the other kid shot the kid. Another kid picked up the gun and shot another one. So they said already they're not gonna do anything, they can't do anything with a young kid, but they sure gonna go after the parents. So y'all better be on notice. Know where your guns are. Lock them up.
Thank you. Councilmember Guidry?
I'm not going to be considered politically correct, I know, and I'm probably going to be quoted wrong, but I'm going to just say that our lives matter. And our city is in the need of healing and transformation and reformation. I want to thank Councilman Marlon Lewis for putting this on the agenda. I'm pleading morally with the parents and the grandparents of this city to support law enforcement as it is now. I do understand there's been some challenges in the past, but in order for us to move forward as a city and to really get our things moving, we need to work together. I believe that it takes a village to raise a child, and it's going to take the same village to raise the bar on crime. And also, too, if you see something, say something. We got to strategically break the code off the streets. There's a code that's being warranted on the streets, and we're going to have to just break that code of silence. Again, you have a tool at your disposal. At this time, if you're concerned about retaliation, you can call 364-TIPS, which is our Iberia Parish Crime Stoppers. There's no reason why nobody should see nothing after all these shootings. So I'm pleading with the residents. You do have a tool, please use it. 364-TIPS, Crime Stoppers. And lastly, I just want to say that law enforcement cannot be everywhere, every time, all over, at the same time, all the time. It's going to take the entire community to come together and see what you saw. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd just like to add just a couple of, I'm sorry.
No.
Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. Marlon, I do agree with you. It's not just a District 2, a District 5, a District 4, or 3. It is happening in District 6. And the reason why I'm saying that is because we see the problem. It's kind of like a broken record. We've been talking about it for a while. And it's on and on and on. But we're getting to that solution. We're gonna solve it. We're gonna get to that solution. Whether it's gonna be. But that's why we're heading the direction we're heading, trying to get the people and promote and educate with the benefits of having a PD, to have the control, and we're just gonna. I think we should just keep moving forward. What we're doing, I think we're doing a good job. But it's happening. You're right. It's happening everywhere. Mm-hmm. And I think that in order to solve it, we're just gonna keep going in the direction we're going and voting the way we're voting, and hopefully we can promote and educate the people and they can see it the same way. So that's all I want to say, and I really do appreciate you putting it on the agenda to discuss it.
I have one more thing that I want to say. You know, we've been elected for these seats, and when these shootings take place, a lot of people are angry, and they call and they flood our phones, and they want to know, what are we doing about the crime? You know, and I've been explaining, just like Mr. Dustin just got through finished explaining, we're moving towards something different and something fresh and something new. If you really want to make a difference, report what you see, say what you see, and come October the 14th, you may want to consider the option of bringing back a New Iberia City Police Department, and then we could have better control over what we need to do as a city as a whole.
Thank you. I'm just gonna add a couple of things. We're one town. I feel the pressure every day to make this place better. That's what I got here to do. That's what I was elected to do, and that's why I decided to come, just like all of you. We all care. This is our home. This is our community, but we are one community. When I try to sell us, look, most of what we did tonight, it was a complicated agenda. Most of what we did tonight was business related. Most of what we did tonight is opportunities for our community. All of these are tied to law enforcement. You can't help it. When these developers come, the first thing they say is, what are you gonna do with your crime problem? Here, we researched it. We looked on the Daily Iberian and went and searched shootings in New Iberia, and 27 of them came up. Or whatever, we went to the crime map. They come with it in their hands saying, we want to come to your community, but how are you addressing this issue?
Right.
It's a real problem. It affects all of our lives daily. And if you don't think I don't worry about law enforcement every day I'm working toward doing something to make this place better. Doing something that makes it safer for our communities, safer for our kids, safer and attractive to new business and new residents. We in a slump. We know our taxes are down 30-something%. The guy who's looking at the budget every day really knows it. As well do you, because your whole function is budgetary. Wait till we get to do our new budget in a few months, after the summer, when we do our first budget together as a new mayor and council. We're really going to dive into that money issue. But it's all related. It's all connected, just like we're all connected. We are one city, and whatever happens anywhere in this city happens all over this city. So we're working toward solutions. We're doing our best. We're putting options out there. I'm like, as Sherry said, I don't want to do the same old thing the same way. We're going to have to do things differently. If we approach our problems differently, we're going to come up with different solutions. What we've done in the past, I'm not judging anybody. It worked. Some things worked, some things didn't work. We can't look at that. We got to look at that we're at the crossroads, and it's time for us to act. This is now our time. So I applaud all of your efforts. I can't thank you enough for putting that on. It fostered some really good discussion. We just have to keep law enforcement in our minds. The other thing is, I have nothing against the sheriff. I want to thank the sheriff because they have been working and they are trying to make a difference. What we're missing in our community is the two layers. Every other community has a sheriff's department and a police department, everywhere. We're one of the very few. All I want is more officers, more people who care about our ordinances, who are only responsible for the city, and that we have some control and direction to send them to these hot spots, to these areas wherever we need them. But I'm not going to ever not cooperate with the sheriff's department. See that guy back there? That's a good guy. They do a great job for us. I respect every one of those officers. I want to continue to work with those guys no matter if we get a PD or don't. But if we do, there's many ways we can partner. I'm already trying to look down the road and say, okay, if we're fortunate enough that the citizens say we're going to let you have a police department, we want to make those changes for our community, I still want to partner with the sheriff's department. There's still many ways that we can work together. The sheriff and I talk about that. If the tax doesn't happen, well, we're not going, none of us are going anywhere. We all still live in this community, and we're all going to have to figure out what we're going to do as Plan B. Do we need changes, and do we have to approach our problems in a new way? Yeah, no matter what. So the issue's not going to go away, and we're going to have to continue, but the spirit that we have of cooperation up here, and every time we have one of these meetings, and I leave this meeting, because this is game day for us. This is the time that this is our time. When I leave these meetings, I'm nothing but more encouraged, more pumped up, because we got a great council. We're all communicating. We're all working together. I like the way we remind each other and challenge each other. I like the way y'all forgive me when I botch up the agenda, but it's all good.
And the names.
Yeah, and the names. And the names, you're right. But, we got a good group from a good town, and we have all the potential in the world, and I really think we're heading in the right direction. That's it. I'll quit preaching.
Mayor, can I
Yes,
make one?
you can say anything you want.
Thank you. You brought up a good point. Ordinances. We have many of ordinances throughout the city, but none of them are enforced. So that's another thing beside the crime that's happening, that we have a big problem with ordinances not being enforced. And it's not going to happen the way it's not happening now. So, I mean, I have people in my district that are living in houses with no power and no water, but they can't get them out because there's no one to come and enforce that ordinance. So it's a big problem, and a lot of it is law enforcement. So that's, you know, another thing to look at too.
I have one more thing to say.
Yes.
I know that everyone, at least a lot of calls that I get, blames law enforcement. But I gotta say that law enforcement can only do so much. Again, I'm gonna ask the community to do your part. I believe that we all have a social responsibility as citizens of this town to work together and to work with law enforcement. We can blame law enforcement every day, all day, until we're blue in the face. But the truth of the matter is, when they do show up on the scene, then there's very or no witnesses at all to report the crime. So I do believe that law enforcement is not the problem at this time in our city. What I believe is that we need to come together as an entire community, as one, and begin to work together so we can move our city forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion?
And I'm sorry for preaching.
All right, now we move on to item 8, Councilman's remarks. Councilman Lewis.
Freddie, I just want to congratulate. I think this is our last meeting before the summer, before school lets out and stuff. Just want to congratulate those kids that graduate this week. Go to college, be safe this summer, go to the military, make something out yourself.
Great.
Mr. Sheriff, we're gonna have a neighborhood watch the same night, but it's at 7. I'm gonna try to make it early. It's very important.
Yes, sir.
Anybody in town can make it these. They all have an excellent neighborhood watch meetings. We have to follow what you're doing and make it better other places. Mr. Freddie, we work with the school board. Gave them limestone where to park these buses a couple of months back. We changed the law, in fact, on that. It shows that we work together. We're helping, the school board's helping us by parking these vehicles in the highest spot in town. It's a little gesture, but we all have to work as a team amongst all the government bodies. It all works out in the long run.
Thank you.
You mentioned about school letting out. You know, when I was young, we had so many empty lots. We used to play on those empty lots. We got to be careful in the streets now, 'cause a lot of kids live so close to each other, they don't have the lots, and they play in the street. So let's be aware of that, maybe just a little more concern in that. And something else, you know, I want to applaud, I mean, Freddie and probably most of y'all, Dustin and myself, when that rain came, the mayor was out there with, like most of y'all, helping clean ditches and doing things.
I saw everybody.
And, you know, one thing the public, and we talk about this every time summertime comes, when you start throwing those grass, blowing that grass into the street, it comes up and it ends up blocking the drainage. And something else, when you see a big rain coming and wind's blowing, I took some volleyballs out of a drain. All that matters. When you call and say, hey, my street's flooded, the reason it's flooded, a lot of times because the water can't drain because something's stopping it. So be a little part of the solution before, when you say the rain's coming 100%, go outside, maybe get things out your yard and put it into carport. A little help, because the city does as much as they can, but it really matters. It really matters. So, and I want to applaud this council, because I never seen so many people working to help their neighborhood and help their district than I ever seen before. So, and it's not always a safe thing to do, because you go in there and you take stuff out that drainage, it starts sucking in. It could be dangerous. But I want to applaud this council in the city for what they did, because they were out there. Everybody was out there doing their job, and I want to applaud that, Freddie, because you know that's a big deal. We can't save the world, but at least we slowed it down and get involved in everything. Just what you talk about crime, get involved in cleaning the yard to help the drainage. So we need to be involved in everyday activities. So I want to thank everybody for doing that.
I want to commend our mayor and some of my constituents that we met with this morning. Also gave you accolades for coming out and being hands-on and just talking to them and trying to help. And that's what it's all about, working together. I have a lot of problems with drainage in my district, and I've taken our mayor to see it, and also our director of public works, Mr. Leroy. He's come out, and we're working together to try to make things better. And like I said, our mayor is always there to be available, you know, to try to do whatever he can, and I'm doing whatever I can too. So, and I want to commend this council. You know, I think we all on one accord. We offer each other good suggestions. We give each other feedback, and this city is ready to move forward. Thank you.
It's my turn.
Yes, ma'am.
I also want to commend our mayor. I went to Sugarland Elementary on sometimes this week, I think, which day of the week it was, and I went and talked to the sixth graders, and they received your letter that you wrote to them, encouraging them to get their education, and encouraging them to be leaders one day, possibly our leaders one day. So they were elated to get a letter from the mayor. So I just wanted to thank our mayor for just that little thing right there, encourage them. So thank you.
Last one.
I want to thank especially Mr. Leroy and the mayor for helping out in my district. I know you've been getting a lot of praise and thanks, and I appreciate it. But thank you, Mr. Landry, for doing what you do for me in District 6 and along with everybody else in all the districts. I also want to say in my district, City Park has quite a bit of programs, summer programs coming up. So I like to see the parents and the kids take advantage of these programs that are coming up. And everything from swim programs to sports camps, the basketball camp, volleyball camp, soccer camps. We also have a good one, it's a baseball camp that's going to be held in the Acadian Ballpark. So that's going to be coming up. Y'all can contact the community center and get the details on that, and call them and give you the dates and the pricing and everything else. I encourage a lot of kids to get involved in that during the summer. So thank you.
Great. Thank y'all. Only thing I have, next meeting, June 6th. Y'all show up. I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
All right. Motion by
Councilmember Guidry.
Councilmember Guidry, and who was the second?
Don't mess that up this time.
Councilmember.